There will be days when your strength isn't enough. When the world feels heavier than your hands can carry. When you try honestly, deeply, relentlessly and still, it doesn't work out. You will fall. Not because you were careless. Not because you didn't want it badly enough. But because life, in all its mystery and madness, doesn't always respond to effort with reward. You'll fall hard. You'll question everything: your talent, your worth, your place. You'll hear the voices, the doubters, the critics, and worst of all, your own. You'll fail. You might give something your entire heart, your time, your tears, your truth, and still walk away empty. You might love someone with a pure, unselfish soul, and they still leave. You might build a dream, brick by brick, and watch it crumble in a moment. And that moment where silence follows effort, that is where defeat whispers. It comes without warning. It walks in slow. It doesn't scream, it sighs. And in that sigh, your hope shudders. You will feel the sting of rejection, the cold shoulder, the missed opportunity, the no that echoes louder than 1,000 yeses ever could. You will feel the ache of disappointment, the kind that doesn't just bruise, but lingers. You'll carry it in your chest, in your eyes, in the way your shoulders fold when no one's watching. You may pour your heart into something, give it your best days and longest nights, and still lose, and it will hurt. Not because you weren't good enough, but because sometimes, life breaks even the strongest things, just to see what will rise from the dust. You will walk through seasons where effort feels invisible, where you wonder if it was even worth it, where you wake up tired from dreams that used to light you up. But here's what no one tells you: defeat is not your enemy. It is not the end of the road. It is the storm before the breakthrough. It is the silence before the first note of your new song. It is the ground beneath your knees before you stand taller than ever. So yes, you will fall. Yes, you will fail. Yes, you will hurt, but none of that is the full story. Not even close. Because in every fall, there is a lesson. In every ache, a seed. And in every loss, there is something that cannot be taken, your will to rise. Yes, you will fall. Yes, you will fail. But you must not be defeated, because defeat is not final. It is not a full stop. It is not the grave of your story, it is the turning point. It is the silence before your next sentence. The pain before your power. Defeat is not here to destroy you. It's here to define you, to ask you a sacred question: will you stay down, or will you rise different? See, the world may see defeat as the end, but the brave see it as the beginning of becoming. Defeat strips away illusions. It peels back the masks. It takes the spotlight off performance and shines it on the soul. And what it reveals is you, your essence, your depth, your fire. Because defeat is a teacher, a cruel one, maybe, unforgiving, demanding, but it teaches you what success never could: who you are when everything familiar is taken away. Defeat is a mirror. It doesn't flatter you. It shows you your cracks. It shows you the fear behind your ambition, the wounds behind your smile, the doubts behind your silence, but it also shows you your strength, your grit, the part of you that does not quit, the part of you that says, even broken, I still choose to try. And more than that, defeat is a forge. A fire so hot, it melts the version of you that relied on comfort, applause, or ease. It takes your pain and bends it into purpose. It shapes your scars into armor. It hammers your hope into something unshakable. You must not be defeated. Not because you're one is, but because within you is something undefeatable: your will, your reason, your sacred refusal to give up. You've already survived more than people know. You've wept in silence and showed up anyway. You've fought battles no one applauded, and still, you're here. So when defeat comes, when it kneels on your chest, when the light dims and the road disappears, remember this: defeat is real, but so is your comeback. Defeat may shake you, but it cannot unmake you. There's a lie the world whispers: that strength must be loud, that courage must be unshakable, that healing must look graceful. But that's not the truth. The truth is this: you can cry, and still be courageous. You can fall apart, and still be whole. You can break, and still rebuild something stronger than what stood before. Pain is not weakness. Tears are not failure. They are evidence that you still feel, that you still care, that you're still alive. The world may not see it, but behind closed doors, pain often walks hand in hand with bravery. It takes courage to feel deeply. It takes strength to grieve and not turn cold. It takes resilience to hold your own heart in trembling hands and whisper, I'm not done yet. You may have days when you collapse into yourself, where nothing seems to move, and the silence feels endless. But silence is not surrender. Sometimes, silence is sacred space, a shelter, a cocoon, the breath before the rise. Let them think you've quit, let them assume your stillness is your end. They don't know you're gathering. They don't know you're healing. They don't know that beneath the surface, your roots are growing deeper. You are not your breakdowns. You are not your bad days. You are not the mistake you made, the moment you froze, or the tear you tried to hide. You are more. You are the person who stayed. The person who got up when no one cheered. The person who showed up to life, carrying the weight of invisible wounds, and still offering light. And let me say this plainly, you can be broken and still be a blessing. You can be hurting and still be whole. You can fall to your knees and still rise with dignity. There is no shame in the ache. There is no weakness in the war you fight within. You don't have to smile to be strong. You don't have to win every day to be worthy. You don't have to hide your pain to be proud of your progress. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply endure. To breathe through the storm. To cry without apology. To hold your heart steady, even when it beats in pieces. Visual suggestions, close-up of a person sitting alone in a dim room. Tears falling slowly, but their posture upright, determined. Time-lapse of a tree weathering a brutal storm, but standing tall after the wind fades. A hand placing broken shards of glass into a mosaic-patterned beauty rebuilt from wreckage. Soft focus visuals of a person journaling, resting with eyes closed, hands pressed to chest. You're not failing just because you're feeling. You're not weak because you're worn. You're human, and humanity is messy, emotional, resilient. So, cry, pause, feel, but don't confuse pain with defeat. Let your tears water the seeds of who you're becoming. Let your silence echo with power. Let your healing be holy. Because courage isn't the absence of pain. It's moving through it with your soul intact, and you are still moving. Defeat is not a punishment, it's a process. It is not here to destroy you, but to define you. When defeat comes, and it always does, in some form it removes the noise. It silences the clapping. It takes away the spotlight. It strips off the costume of who you thought you needed to be, and leaves you with only one thing, your soul. It's uncomfortable. No filters, no trophies, no applause. Just you. You in the mirror. You in the ache. You in the truth. Defeat teaches you the weight of your own soul. It shows you where your strength really lives, not in how loud you are, but in how still you can be. Not in how many wins you've collected, but in how many times you stood up after falling alone. Not in how many people believe in you, but in how you believe in yourself when no one else does. It will take your illusions, your need to be perfect, to be seen, to be accepted, and burn them down, because comfort is where dreams rest, but discomfort is where character wakes up. And when everything is stripped away, when you're left with no hand to hold but you're on you, begin to understand your worth has never been attached to your victories. Your soul is not measured in success, popularity, or perfection. It is measured in presence, in integrity, in resilience. Defeat is the teacher you didn't ask for but always needed. It shows you what you clung to that couldn't hold you. It reveals the lies you told yourself to stay small. It uncovers the truth you buried beneath fear, that you were always enough. Just as you are. It hurts, it humiliates. It breaks your ego like glass dropped from a great height. But beneath that ego, something stronger rises. Authenticity. On the world turns away, defeat stays. It sits with you in the ashes and asks, now, who are you really? And you realize you are not the applause. You are not the failure. You are the fire, still burning under both. Rising again, it doesn't always come with fireworks. It doesn't come with claps or music swelling in the background. It's not the scene in the movie where everything falls into place. No, rising is quiet. Rising is sacred. Sometimes it's nothing more than taking one small breath when everything in you wants to disappear. Sometimes it's opening your eyes after a long night of tears and whispering to yourself, I'm still here. Sometimes it's not about getting back to who you were, but learning how to live with who you've become. Rising is not glamorous. It is raw. It is shaky. It is slow. It's pulling yourself out of bed with a body heavy from pain, and walking anyway. It's replying to one message, facing one fear, trying again when yesterday nearly broke you. You won't always feel strong when you rise. In fact, most times, you'll feel like you're barely holding on. But let me tell you something, that's exactly what strength looks like. Not perfection. Not invincibility, but persistence. The kind that shows up in silence, the kind that doesn't need to be seen to be real. Rising isn't about having it all together. It's about holding on to something even when your hands are shaking. It's about choosing to believe against all odds, against all logic, against all pain, that maybe, just maybe, healing is still possible. It's not loud, but it's powerful. It's not fast, but it's real. It's not pretty, but it's holy. You see, the world only celebrates the visible parts of recovery, the smiles, the comebacks, the polished strength. But the sacred part, the part that really matters, it happens in the dark. It's when you choose to breathe in the middle of anxiety. When you choose to forgive, even though the scars still ache. When you choose to believe in your worth, even when no one else is validating it. There are moments when the weight feels too much. Moments when your knees tremble under the pressure. When your heart grows tired of hoping. When the road ahead looks endless and empty. But listen to me, you were not made to collapse under the weight. You were made to carry it, not forever, but just long enough to learn how strong you've become. You were made to rise through it, to move through fire and not be burned by it, to feel the storm and still walk through the rain, to bend, yes. Bend so deeply that it scares you but not break. Your resilience is not accidental. It's woven into your being. It's in the way you breathe through pain. It's in the way you love even after loss. It's in the way you show up, again and again, even when no one sees the effort. You don't keep going because it's easy. You keep going because it's who you are. Because something deep in your bones whispers, I wasn't born to quit. Asterisk, you were built for the long road, not because it's fair, but because you are capable. You've made it through things you didn't think you'd survive, and somehow, you're still here. That isn't weakness, that's endurance. That's legacy. That's truth. The world will try to convince you that your value is in how fast you recover, how perfectly you perform, how easily you bounce back. But the truth is this, your value lies in your persistence, in your presence, in your unshakable decision to rise again. You were not made for comfort. You were made for courage. You were not designed to be perfect. You were designed to be whole, flawed, yes, fragile at times, but also fierce, also enduring, also eternal in your becoming. And maybe today you don't feel strong. Maybe today you're tired, bruised, silent. That's okay. Even warriors rest. Even heroes sit in the stillness and question. Even light flickers. But don't mistake your pause for weakness. Don't confuse your quiet with failure. Don't call your moment of stillness the end. Because it's not. Because somewhere in your spirit, even in the weariness, even in the cracks, there's a fire that refuses to die. It may not burn like it used to. It may be a flicker. It may barely glow, but it's there, and it's waiting. Waiting for you to remember. You were not made to quit. You were made to rise. Not because the road is easy, but because the climb is yours. Because this story is yours. Because this strength, this deep soul-level strength, it's who you are, and it always has been. You will encounter many defeats. That is not a warning. It's a promise. A truth written into the human journey. You will face walls you cannot climb. You will be misunderstood. You will be betrayed. You will fall again and again, and sometimes, it will feel like failure has carved your name into stone. But let me remind you of something ancient, something powerful. You may encounter many defeats, but you will not be defeated, because defeat is not the end of you. It is not your final name. It is not your grave. Defeat may knock you down hard. It may empty your hands, bruise your heart, steal your breath, but it will never own your soul. Why? Because your spirit remembers something the world forgets. Your spirit remembers how to rise. Asterisk inside you. There is something that cannot be buried. Not by loss. Not by pain. Not by failure, shame, or fear. There is a seed inside of you, divine, enduring, ancient, that refuses to quit. Call it faith, call it soul, call it purpose. Call it the voice of your ancestors, whispering, get up, keep going. We're with you. The world may not always see your strength. They may only see the cracks, not the light pouring through them. They may only notice when you fall, not the 1,000 quiet times you stood back up. But none of that matters, because you know. You know what it took to still be standing. You know what it cost to keep showing up. You know how many times you whispered, I can't, and still did it anyway. This is your final declaration. I will not be defeated. Say it again. Say it until your bones believe it. Until your breath steadies. Until your soul rises from the ashes with fire in its eyes. You are not weak because you've fallen, you are powerful because you got back up. You are not broken because you've been hurt. You are beautiful because you kept loving anyway. You are not lost because you've doubted. You are strong because you dared to hope again. Every defeat you've encountered has not erased your worth, it has revealed it. It has refined you. It has shown you the fire you carry. So when the world presses down, when your heart grows tired, when your vision blurs with tears, remember, you were not made to surrender. You were made to rise, to stand, to declare, even with a trembling voice, I am not done yet. I am not finished. I am not defeated. Not now, not ever, because no matter how many defeats you face, you will not be defeated. And your spirit, your eternal, untouchable, rising spirit will prove it.